What's up, everyone, and welcome to Week 17, the final week of the regular season. Next week, we start the playoffs, but this week, I have 3 games that I'm going to talk about. 3 games that are really going to make it or break it for some teams. So let's go ahead and get started with Houston and Indianapolis. In this AFC matchup, we have the Houston Texans taking on the Indianapolis Colts at Lucas Oil Stadium. Now, this matchup is going to be a really good one. The last game they had 2 weeks ago, the Houston Texans had the edge 29-17, but the Houston Texans were playing at home, and they're really strong at home. But the Colts are one of those teams that you got to fear them. Every time you play them, they're not going to be one of those teams that, you mark off on your list before the game and say, okay, we got this in the bag. Especially when you're going up against, a division rival. The Colts are playing at home. Chuck Pagano's back for his first game in forever, and it's going to be good to see what game planning he has. But Bruce Arians has, been doing this. He's 9-3 after Chuck Pagano left the team for leukemia treatments. It's going to be really good to see Chuck Pagano back on the sidelines. I'm looking forward to this matchup. Both these teams are both in the playoffs. There's no playoff berth at stake here. They're both in the playoffs, like I said. The only thing that they're looking for is one more win and a higher seed. The Texans, they're 12-3. They're looking to be 13-3 to have the first round bye, and the Indianapolis Colts are looking to become 11-5 and be the top seed in the wild card. But for this matchup, I'm going to take the, I'll take the Indianapolis Colts at home. Chuck Pagano, it's really going to be good to see him back. Chuck strong, man. So I'm taking the Colts with this one. Like all these matches this week, everything's a division rivalry. But with the playoffs looming, every team needs that win in order to make some kind of push, whether it's to get a higher playoff spot to wild card wise, or to get a first round bye, home field advantage and stuff. But this game is about 2 things. Number 1, Green Bay's looking for a first round bye, and number 2, Minnesota's looking to get a higher wild card spot and lock it in to where they don't have to face a higher team. So, but another thing about this game, Adrian Peterson is looking to break Eric Dickerson's record. Everybody thought that he had a chance last week to dominate and put a lot of yards on the board. He only put 86 yards rushing up on the board. So he needs over 200 yards in this game by himself. He could possibly do it. I mean, he's gone up against some of the best teams in the league and dominated, putting up over 200 yards, close to 200 yards. But this one needs over 200 yards in order to break that record. Now, we've seen a lot of records broken this year, and maybe, just maybe, hint, hint, maybe he'll break it. So, but this game, like I said, Green Bay's looking to get a first-round bye with the win, and Minnesota's looking to get a higher wild card spot. They're already in the playoffs. It's going to be one of those hard-fought division rivalries. There's going to be a lot of attitude going on the field, a lot of, defense, and a lot of offensive plays, and look for Aaron Rodgers to perform well. Christian Ponder needs to perform well. He needs to limit turnovers and stuff. But Adrian Peterson, everything is on his shoulders, in my opinion, that is. So with this game, I'm going to have to take the Packers with this one. I mean, Adrian Peterson may break the record, but the Packers are just too, they're too good on offense to lose this. Not so much running game, even though they have sometimes a running game, but passing, you can't stop them. So I'm taking the Packers with this one. It seems like deja vu when you had the NFC East always fighting for a playoff spot at the end of the season. Now, with this game, it's probably the most talked about game in weeks. You have the Dallas Cowboys heading into FedEx Field to take on the Redskins. RG3 looks on top of his game after coming back from injury. The Dallas Cowboys, they gave up a last-minute, heartbreaking win to the Saints. But, the Cowboys, they have inconsistency issues. They can keep up with the score, but at the very last second they can give it up. They've done it for years, and you can't put all the blame on Tony Romo. Everybody seems to put the blame on Tony Romo. It's not only Tony Romo that runs that offense. You got wide receivers that need to put their word in, and you have running backs, and you have offensive linemen. Everybody does their own job, and if everybody doesn't do their job, there's no reason why you should blame one person. Now, when you have somebody like RG3 who it shows that one person can run that whole offense. I mean, you look at last year, 5-11. This year, they're on the brink of going to the playoffs. It's going to be a highly contested matchup. You know, last week everybody was like, "Oh, divisional rivalry." It was San Francisco and Seattle. That San Francisco had this in the bag. I said Seahawks, and look what happened. And it's unpredictable. The NFL is unpredictable. In this game, it's going to be it's going to be a good one. I mean, they last played on Thanksgiving, and I think the Redskins are going to come away with this one. I mean, like I said, inconsistent plays, inconsistent, team. That's what the Cowboys are. So that's why I'm going with the Redskins with this one, and they're heading to the playoffs. Here's a rundown of the NFC playoff scenarios. First, you have the New York Giants. They need a win and loss from Dallas, Chicago, and Minnesota in order to make it into the playoffs. So they have a slim chance. The Chicago Bears, they need a win over Detroit and a Minnesota loss, and they're in the playoffs. The Cowboys, the wild card spot, it's out of question since their loss to New Orleans, but Dallas could win the NFC East title by beating Washington next week. And the Minnesota Vikings, they need one more win to lock down a playoff spot. However, they need to beat Green Bay to keep the teams behind them out. However, in the AFC, everything's been locked up. There's no room for any other team to make the playoffs. So, better luck next year to everybody in the AFC. Alright guys, that's it for my Week 17 picks. Make sure you leave comments below. Tell me what you think of my picks. And make sure you leave your picks below as well. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at TheEpic1. And you can also find me on Xbox Live, TheEpic1. I left it here on the screen so that way you can find me. Play Madden, Battlefield 3, all that stuff. If you want to play me, hit me up with a message, and we'll get this thing done. And I might feature on YouTube. Who knows?